excited to see everyone here. It's an exciting time, and we are looking forward to the experience today and how empowered you feel after the meeting today with Ariel. So I'm going to first, before I introduce our workshop leader today, Ariel Merkel, I want to shout out her team, who is also going to be assisting throughout the day. Robert Scott, he is a certified ADA coordinator who is here, and he will be helping today. Maya Gayes, she's another ADA coordinator. And then Dana Marshall and Joanna Morgan are going to be assisting you as you learn how to use the ballot marking devices. So Ariel Merkel has a history of being an advocate for people with disabilities. She is currently the ADA coordinator at the Board of Elections in the city of New York, and she has dedicated her life both professionally and academically to advocating for people with disabilities. In addition to her work with the Board of Education, she has also worked as the Disabilities Integrator Advisor at FEMA, and in addition, she has done numerous disability rights work events at the United Nations. So we have a heavy hitter here who is going to talk to you about your rights and help empower you and help us, everybody, get ready for the next election. So without further ado, I introduce Ariel Merkel.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Ariel Merkel. Thank you for that warm welcome. I am the Americans with Disabilities Act Coordinator at the New York City Board of Elections. I oversee the ADA unit. We have a wonderful staff in our general office, and we work closely with the Borough Board of Elections to ensure that the electoral process is accessible to everyone who is registered to vote. That means regardless of disability, regardless of anything else, you have a right to vote, you have a right to be a poll worker, and we want to explain some of those processes to you. So without further ado, here we go. So to give a little background, the information that I'm going to share today is applicable to the New York City voters. If you happen to be from Rockland County, Westchester, Nassau, the laws that I'm discussing are going to be the same, but the policies might be a little different. Your machines might be a little different. So again, this information is for New Yorkers, voters from and live in New York City who are registered in the New York City Board of Elections. So to give you a little background of what is the electoral process here in New York, we have one big day, Election Day. This year it's November 5th. You might have heard it. It's a big word coming up. This is the Olympic year for elections. And on Election Day, throughout the 5 boroughs, we have over 1,200 poll sites that throughout all 5 counties. In addition to Election Day, you have 9 days of early voting. So if you are not going to be in town on Election Day, if you want to, pro tip, avoid the lines and the crowds, please consider voting early. We have 9 days of early voting, and in New York City we have over 100 sites that are open for those 9 days. So that's going to be the 2 weekends before Election Day and the entire week between those elections. And then we have other ballot options that we have available. If you would like a paper ballot mailed to you, you can apply for either an early mail ballot or an absentee ballot. If you would like an electronic version, an accessible version of that ballot emailed to you, we're going to discuss that too, and we're going to have a demonstration of what that process sounds like and looks like. So, what does my unit here do? The ADA unit, we focus on the entire electoral process, as I said. So, first and foremost, we have to make sure you can get into the building. We coordinate with, each county has its own Board of Elections. There's a Bronx Board of Elections, Brooklyn Board of Elections, etc. for the 5 boroughs. And then there's a larger general office, an executive level board that ensures that the process is equitable for all 5 boroughs. So each of those local boards has surveyors that goes out, measures the width of the door, measures the width of the door, listens to the audio tones in the elevator, measures the ramps to make sure that the slope isn't too steep. And our team reviews all of those surveys. And if the pool site isn't accessible, if there's an issue, we come up with solutions and how to make those sites temporarily accessible. This is the biggest challenge for the New York City Board of Elections. We don't own those 1,200 pool sites. Those are your schools, your libraries, your YMCAs. We can't rebuild their ramps. We can't add audio tones into their elevators. So we have to do temporary fixes for election day to make sure that location is 100% ADA compliant for you on that day, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on election day. We also work with our poll workers. We have a few in the crowd and many of our poll workers are people with disabilities who require accommodations. We have American Sign Language interpreters deployed to the sites to assist deaf poll workers. And then again, the accessible voting process, which is what we're going to experience today. We're going to have a demonstration of the ballot marking device, and we're going to have a demonstration of the accessible ballot, so you can see those. So first, I want to go into just the physical building so you can realize what work goes into making sure that you can access the actual poll site in order to. So as I mentioned, we have over 1,200 election day poll sites and over 100 early voting poll sites. This is all happening simultaneously. It's a lot going on. Over 600 of those election day sites require some kind of temporary ramps or mats that we deploy to make sure that that slope is accessible, that lip of the door is not a tripping hazard. So that's almost half. Almost half of the poll sites require some kind of metal or rubber remediation that we deploy to those poll sites. And this is to ensure that Title II, which is the part of the Americans with Disabilities Act that covers your right to government, local and state government programs, is accessible. So we are assuring that the program of voting is accessible to you. So in other words, there might be big stairs at the library, but as long as there's a ramp next to it, a ramp in the back, we are able to ensure that path from the sidewalk into your poll site, down the hallway, into the door, and once you're in the room, is completely accessible. So here on this screen, we have 3 images of poll site barriers that we resolve on election day. The image on the left is a poll site that has, you just came up a concrete exterior ramp, and the wall to the building is to your left. There's a fence to your right, and protruding right into your path of travel is an air conditioner with a sharp metal cage around it. So this is not cane detectable. If you're using your cane to notify of any hazards, your cane is not going to detect that there is this air conditioner here. This is a very hazardous condition at this pool site. So it's a simple resolution for us. We simply place a cone underneath it. We make it cane detectable. But unless our surveyors are out there looking for these things, that would be a hazardous path for someone who might be using a cane. The middle image is of a concrete pathway that has been severe. On this slide, we have more temporary solutions. The first image is it's not quite a step, it's less than 6 inches. It's about like a 2-inch lip, a metal step coming off of a brick pathway onto a concrete pathway. And we deploy what's called a rubber threshold ramp. So this is like a very thick rubber mat that is sloped to get people safely over this hazard. And the next image is of a metal platform and ramp going over a step. I don't know why so many buildings in New York City need 1 step to get into the bank, to get into the restaurant. Everything is 1 step off the ground. It's infuriating. But here we have a 6-foot ramp in order to get over this step. And the next image is a doorbell. The vast majority of exterior doors in New York City are too heavy and difficult to open per the ADA. the poundage that the force that it requires to open is not ADA compliant. In order to, and we're again not able to install automated doors in all of the schools and the libraries and churches and synagogues, we deploy these temporary doorbells. The voter rings the doorbell, an accessibility clerk, which is a poll worker, is on the other side of the door and opens the door when the doorbell rings. And the last image on this slide is a bunch of cones, because we use cones all the time. They're a very simple solution to warn people of a hazardous condition. So entering the poll site, every poll site has the international symbol of accessibility, which is a blue sign with a white wheelchair user. In New York City, we use what's called a dynamic version of that, which is a wheelchair user who is actually in action. The wheelchair user is leaning forward and in motion. And so this sign will be posted at the accessible entrance of the poll site. So many poll sites have the main voter entrance is accessible, but some of them have a separate entrance that is ADA compliant. For example, there might be a few steps that go right directly into the gym, and the majority of voters want to use those few steps to go right into the gym and not have to go into the rest of the school. But there is a ramp around the corner, and voters with disabilities have the right to use that ramp. So this symbol, this sign will indicate the accessible doorway and pathway. And we have additional wayfinding signs, which are the wheelchair user symbol with an arrow pointing right to left, so to navigate how to find that accessible entrance. So that's getting into the building, all the work that we do just to make sure that you can access the building. We're gonna hold questions till the end if you don't mind. And now the accessible voting process. Our team also meticulously designs the poll room. So when you come into the room, we want to make sure that you have a pathway that is compliant for you to be able to access all of the different elements of the poll room. And then the ballot marking device, we have two here in the room that we will demonstrate how you can actually mark your ballot privately and independently. And the accessible ballot, and we're going to demonstrate that. That's a ballot if you don't want to go to a physical poll site and you want to vote elsewhere from the comfort of your own home or elsewhere. Chanel is going to give a demonstration of that at the end of this presentation. So, I skipped one. How do I go back? Okay. So for those of you who might not have voted in New York City, or it's been a while, just kind of want to give you a refresher of the process. When you enter the poll room, the first stop is to check in with the poll worker. You're going to give your name and your address. They're going to look you up in the poll pad. And once you sign the poll pad, they'll issue you a ballot. And that ballot, you will have a list of names with ovals to indicate which name that you're voting for. We're also going to have several propositions that I'll mention at the end of the, it's going to be a lengthy ballot, I'll just say it that way, in November. So you're going to receive your ballot, and then you have two different options. You can go to a privacy booth with a pen and mark the little oval with your pen. If you're unable or not interested in that process, you're going to go to the ballot marking device, which is going to mark the ballot for you. You're going to insert your ballot, and this is going to, the only thing it does is mark the oval. It doesn't print the ballot, it just marks the oval that you're choosing. And once you take that ballot, then you have to actually vote. You've marked it, but then you have to cast your ballot. And you're gonna insert it into a scanner that is gonna actually tabulate, and that's when you have actually voted. So we have to make sure the space between all of these different stations is accessible, meaning there's a 3-foot wide pathway to access all of these. So we designed the flow of the poll room such that it's ADA compliant. Okay, so the ballot marking device, which I know many of you are here to see, is an amazing machine. It ensures voters have the right to vote privately and independently. And I want to stress this. Under the HAVA, Help America Vote Act of 2002, You have the right to vote privately and independently. That means you can take someone that you trust into the poll site with you and into the voting booth with you. If you want to bring your son, your grandmother, someone that you trust, the poll workers are willing to help. If they're ever helping you mark your ballot, there will be a bipartisan team. That means a Democrat and a Republican will go together to help you mark your ballot. But you have the right to do it by yourself. You have the right under HAVA to vote privately and independently, and that's what these machines enable you to do. Every single poll site in New York State, this is not a New York City thing, every poll site in New York State has a ballot marking device. The ones that we have in New York City might look a little different than the ones elsewhere, but one of these is going to be at every poll site in New York City. Some of the larger sites and early voting sites are going to have multiple of these, and this is the ESMS auto mark. It's a really great machine. I'm excited for you guys to try it out. Truth be told, they're a little older, they've been around a long time, but they are very durable, and they provide so much wonderful accessories. So the BMD itself has a large screen. It's a touch screen that you could either touch with your finger, a stylus will be provided for you, or you could use a prosthetic hook or whatever pen you would like to use, or any other device. Also, next to the screen is a keypad that has, and I'll discuss this further, but it has Braille on it, so you can put in your headphones and listen to the ballot through the audio and progress through the next election just using the Braille pad. For those who are interested, it also provides high contrast, so you can see the ballot with a white on black background. You can zoom in to make the text larger if you would like to see it a little bit larger. And there's two other amazing accessories. This is the rocker paddle. It's about the size of a large cell phone. It has a simple yes or no button. No is scroll, so that's saying, Michael, no. Stephen, no. Ariel, yes. No, yes.
Like that too.
And it's very simple. You could put this rocker paddle on your lap. You could put it on the floor and use your feet. You can use your elbows. You can use any appendage that you need. It's movable. So this is actually my favorite device.
That's the one.
Rocker paddle on the best. And then we also have what is called a sip and puff here. And this is the device that is inserted into your mouth. And similar as the rocker paddle is just yes and no, the sip and puff is and breathing out. So sipping is no. Michael, Kathy, no. Renita, yes. Breathing out is saying yes. And so if you can breathe, you can vote. I think this is a really incredible apparatus. So we have sip and puffs with every BMD has headphones, sip and puffs, stylus. But if you prefer to bring your sip and puff, which these day and age, most people prefer to bring their own. It's a standard jack that you can insert. You can bring your own rocker paddle. Again, it's a standard jack that you can insert, but we do provide everything that you need if you so choose. So now I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail about this machine. I just want to emphasize that this machine only marks the ballot. That means it's only filling in those little ovals. If you do a write-in, it's going to write the name in, but other than that, it's only filling in the ballot. It's not printing the ballot for you. You are going to be issued the same ballot that everyone else has. There's no way to identify if someone marked, when we're looking at a stack of ballots, which one was marked by someone who used the BMD or who used a pen, and that's important for your privacy. Often we get questions, can I have my Braille, can I have my ballot in Braille or large print? It's very important that all the ballots look exactly the same. So we can't identify who voted how, or who you voted for. And also, it's also very important to know that just when you insert your ballot into this machine, make your selections, and it spits it out, you haven't voted yet. You still need to take it to the scanner to insert it into the tabulator for that vote to count. So I just wanted to make sure that it's very clear. Sometimes we say, this is just in a very fancy pen. That's all it is a pen. It's not a scanner or anything else. So I'm going to go through some of the features in a little bit more detail. And we have 2 BMDs here. After the presentation, I welcome you all to come up and try it, to listen to the ballot this way. So the first feature, as I mentioned, is the touch screen. And this is calibrated to be used with any apparatus. Like I said, you can use your finger, you can use the pen that you're issued when you sign has a stylus on the other side. And then the Braille pad has an up arrow and a down arrow. This is how you go up or down through the list of names. And between those up and down is a square that says select. And again, this is listed in Braille. So that's how you select the name. Then there's an arrow pointing to the left and an arrow pointing to the right on either side of that square. The arrow to the left is going back to the contest you already, like, oh, I want to go back to the president, or forward, I want to go forward to the next contest, which is US Congress. So this is how you go to the next contest, or if you want to return to one you've already gone to.
Right.
The top, and then, so that's the first section of the Braille pad. Then there's a diamond on the top, and this is really important for you to know too. It simply says screen. It's a diamond shape button, but what that does is it makes the screen go black. So if you're listening to your ballot with headphones and you might have your nosy son with you or someone, you can make that screen go black so no one can see what is on that screen. You are only listening to it, again, privately and independently. And if you need assistance with the poll workers there, that you can simply push that screen and so they can see kind of where you are in the ballot and help you. 3 other elements on this Braille pad. There's a repeat button. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You push the button and it repeats. A tempo and a volume. So you can make it, the audio speak a little quicker or slower, louder, or quieter. And I should tell you that it starts very, very quiet. So the first thing you're gonna want to do is find the volume and push it as many times, at least in my experience. It starts, and I understand they don't want to, blast your eardrums first thing, but it starts very, very quiet. So find that volume button and start there is my advice. And then you have the audio assistant. Now, in New York City, we have, our ballot is in many different languages depending on where you live. Here in Manhattan, your ballot might be in a variation of English, Spanish, or Chinese. In Queens, you can have a ballot that has up to English, Spanish, Chinese, Bengali, and Korean. So the first step is you're going to choose the language, and if your ballot is written in those languages, it's going to have the audio file of those languages. If your ballot is not in Korean, you're not going to have the option to select a Korean audio. The audio is only for that specific ballot. And as I mentioned, the volume and the tempo is kind of probably where you're going to want to start, and the screen button darkens it. The rocker panel, I also encourage you guys to use this if you're interested in it. Like I said, it's just a simple no is scroll on the left hand side, and then on the right hand side is yes or select. And again, this can be used with any appendage that the voter chooses. And on this screen, we have an image of a voter using the sip and puff device. And again, sips are short inhalation breaths, and the puffs are exhaling breaths, puffs. And so again, you can use your own, or we provide a sterile device in each BMD. We have more information on our website. I'm happy to share these links to you. We have a whole video explaining the BMD, but I think you're going to have even better information by actually using it shortly. And if you are not interested in using the ballot marking device, but you do want to mark your ballot with a pen, I also want to note that every poll site has an ADA privacy booth. This is a booth that is wider and lower. So if you have other needs that you need if you're using a wheelchair or any other condition that you need a lower, wider chair, privacy booth, every poll site has one of these. And it's marked with the international symbol of accessibility, which again is that wheelchair user. So I already mentioned this, but this is important for you to know some of your rights when you have assistance at the poll site. So you do have an option to have a bipartisan team. Bipartisan meaning there would be two people helping you. One would be a Democrat and one would be a Republican. And they would assist you if you would request it. But you also have a right to bring someone else that you trust to help you mark your ballot. The law indicates that that person can't be your boss, can't be your union boss, and it can't be someone on the ballot. So if they are a candidate on the ballot, they cannot assist you per law. So that person just has to sign an oath saying, I'm not their boss, I'm not the union boss, I'm not a candidate or a poll watcher. So as long as that person signs an oath stating that they don't have that type of relationship to you, you can have anyone. It doesn't have to be a citizen, it doesn't have to be someone, it could be anyone that you trust to help you mark your ballot. If you make a mistake and you vote for the wrong person or you're not quite sure, you have the right, before you cast it into the scanner, once it's in the scanner, you voted. But if you haven't cast your ballot yet, you have a right to receive a new one. So you can go up to the poll worker and say, I made an error, could I have a new ballot? They will take your ballot, void it, and issue a new one. You have the right up to 3 of these ballots. If you make some kind of error, if the machine makes an error, if the machine rips your ballot by accident or something, it gets jammed, that doesn't count to your 3 ballots. You should be issued a new ballot. They will void the damaged ballot, but that doesn't count to your 3 ballots. And now we're going to discuss, if you don't want to go to a poll site, if you're not interested in going to election day or early voting, we have more options for you. If you would like a paper ballot mailed to you, you could request either an early mail ballot or an absentee ballot that will be sent to you. Again, this is a paper ballot being mailed to you, and also in that package is going to be envelopes for you to mail it back after you've marked it. If you're unable or uninterested in marking a paper ballot with a pen, if you have a print disability, we have an accessible ballot that we're going to spend the rest of the presentation talking about. And also I wanted to know if you know that you are never going to be able to go into a poll site, you are permanently disabled such that you're not going to be leaving your home, you can apply to be a permanent absentee. And if you're a permanent absentee, we just mail you a ballot for every election that you're eligible for. You don't have to request it. So if your grandmother, you know, is not going to be able to make it to the school across the street, she can request to become a permanent absentee voter. So the accessible ballot, again, is an electronic version of the ballot. If an eligible voter applies for an accessible ballot, you don't get it mailed to, it's not a piece of paper being mailed to you. I email you a link to an electronic version of it. So you need to have internet access. You need to have an email address to make this work. And then you will use your own home adaptive technology, your screen reader, JAWS, whatever you use to navigate your electrical devices, to navigate the ballot and select the choices. So in other words, it kind of makes your phone, tablet, or computer into a BMD. It's helping you mark your ballot. Some little quirks I wanted to highlight. Per New York State election law, we can't receive the ballot from you electronically. I can send it to you with all the names. You can't send it back to me with your selections. That we have a paper-based electoral process here in New York State, and we need to have the piece of paper sent to the Board of Elections. So what does this mean? This means that you have to print it. You have to print the ballot, which is a bit of a barrier, and this is the current state of election law. I will say the election law changes every year, so who knows what it's going to be in the future, but as of right now, you have to actually print this accessible ballot. And I think that we'll discuss some of the options that Lighthouse Guild is looking to support voters in this process by assisting them in that printing process. But once you print it, You can either mail it back to us, mail it back to the Board of Elections. We will send you the envelopes to do so, or you drop that envelope off at the post office, or you could drop it off at any poll site. It doesn't have to be your poll site or any early voting site. And again, I will mail you, Rob Maya, and I will mail you a packet of envelopes, or you can also download your own after you print your ballot. So how do you apply? You apply for an accessible ballot, and again, this is for voters with print disabilities. Through requestballot.vote.nyc, that will take you to the request portal, and /accessibility will take you to the accessible version. And you have to attest and affirm that you are a voter with a print disability. Again, this is the current state of New York State election law and surrounding policies. Is this process is not open for any voter. It's only open for voters with disabilities. So the BMD, anyone can use. Anyone can use it. I use it all the time. I encourage everyone to use it. The accessible ballot is restricted only to people with print disabilities. So the first part is you have to affirm that you are a voter with a print disability, put in your name, birth date, and your borough, zip code. It's important that you put your name as it appears in your voter records. So if you got married last week and you changed your last name, but we don't know it, we're only gonna have the information that you gave us when you registered to vote. So we have a very simple way to vote, to request that ballot on our website, or you could use this fillable PDF. Not many people use this anymore because I feel like the website is much easier, but we do have a fillable PDF that you could also submit to us. Once we confirm that you're an eligible voter, that you requested this in time, that you will receive an email from us. It's going to come from accessibleballot@boenyc.gov, and it's going to have a link to your ballot in that email. You're going to click on the link, and again, you're going to have to confirm. It says, I declare that I have a print disability, which means any disability that interferes with effective reading, writing, use of printed material, and that disability prevents me from independently casting a ballot without traveling to the Board of Elections. And you're going to enter your name, your birthday, and you're going to be able to access your ballot on your tablet, phone, or computer. I'm not going to go into too many of the rest of these slides because I know we're going to have an actual demonstration shortly that Chanel's going to show us. I just want to once again reiterate that you cannot, I am emailing it to you, but you cannot email it back to me. And then you will return it through a set of envelopes. And then lastly, if you want to track your accessible ballot, we get data from the post office about the status of pieces of mail in the postal service. And you can track your ballot saying, oh, it's been received by the post office. Oh, it's been received by the Staten Island Board of Elections. Oh, it's been opened and processed and determined to be valid. Or it's invalid because you forgot to sign the envelope and it's coming back to you for you to sign. So you can track the status of your ballot on our website as well. So before we go into the demo, I just want to emphasize some important dates. Election day is Tuesday, November 5th, and polls are open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. You might have heard that the President of the United States is on the ballot. That's going to be the first contest. We're also going to have U.S. Senators on the ballot and U.S. Congress members. We have state races as well, so that's the New York State Senators, New York State Assembly. Depending on where you live, or what district you're in, you're going to have various judges. And we're going to have up to 6 propositions. There's going to be one amendment to the New York State Constitution. That's going to be the first proposition. People are referring to that as the Equal Rights Amendment. And then there's going to be 5 amendments to the New York City Charter. So make sure if you're flipping the ballot, some places, such as where I live in Brooklyn, it's probably going to be 2 sheets of paper. If you're using the ballot marking device, please note it doesn't matter which way you insert it. It can go upside down, it can go left or right, it doesn't matter how the ballot is inserted, you don't have to worry about that. It'll read to you or display the names in the correct order. In addition to Election Day, we have 9 days of early voting. Early voting begins Saturday, October 26th and runs every day until November 3rd, so that's 9 days. And the last day to apply for an accessible ballot or an early mail or absentee ballot is the first day of early voting, which is Monday, October 21st. I also should note, if you're not registered to vote, the last day to register to vote is also Saturday, October 26th. I'm sorry, this is not the first day of early voting. The first day of early voting is the last day to register to vote. So you could actually go to your poll site and register to vote if you have never registered at all. This is your first time. I have a list of different resources that I'm happy to share from our website. And we have staff outside in the hallway at a table that can help you identify, are you registered to vote? Where is your poll site? And help you.
So here I've opened the page to the link that I was given to start my voting. And the first thing it says is pick language. So I'm going to use my arrow keys and move down.
QA mode is enabled.
Now, I do want to point out for anyone who is aware that because this is a demonstration ballot, you're going to hear a couple of strange things in here you wouldn't normally hear because this is in demonstration mode. However, the functionality of it and the layout will be exactly the same when you get yours if you choose to do this.
Link click here to exit QA mode.
So,
Link skip to content.
skip to content is an awesome button here at the top. This lets you skip past all the headers, the links, all the stuff you don't care about. So you just hit enter.
Enter. Select the language. Heading
Straight
level
to where
1,
you
select
need
the
to.
language. Link English.
I'm obviously going to click English.
Enter. English link. Loading page. Loading complete. Link technical support. Page is 1 region. 1 heading and 6 links. There 1 small glance. Hot QA mode is enabled. All link click here to exit QA mode. Link skip to content.
Skip to content again.
Enter. Main region. Welcome voters heading level 1.
So as Ariel mentioned earlier, this is the point where you guys are going to have to decide if you're going to acknowledge that you are print disabled. So if you are not print disabled, you're going to say no, and then you obviously cannot use this service. However, I am, so I'm going to say yes. So I'm going to scroll down using my arrow keys.
This site is provided to eligible voters in New York. This site will allow you to mark, review, print, and return your ballot to your local elections office. Please review the statements below and certify that they are true before proceeding to the accessible version of your ballot. List of 2 items. Bullet, I declare that I have a print disability, which means any disability that interferes with the effective reading, writing, or use of printed material. And that such disability prevents me from being able to independently cast a paper ballot without traveling to a board of elections and using a ballot marking device. Bullet, I understand that my selections marked by this system must be printed by me and submitted to my local board of elections using the official return envelope. I may use either the return envelope that was mailed to me or the foldable envelope template provided by this system that I will print, fold, and mail. Ballots must be postmarked by election day. List N. Note that you are required to print the ballot at the end of this session. Please ensure you have access to a printer. You may use paper of any size. I certify that all of the above are true. Checkbox not checked.
I'm going to hit space bar to check.
Space. I certify that all of the above are true. Checkbox not checked. To check, press space bar. Note that I certify that all of the above are true. Checkbox checked.
So I don't know why JAWS does this. This is a JAWS issue, not a site issue. Occasionally, it just doesn't acknowledge that you checked it. If you just move out of it and go right back to the spot, you'll see that it says that it's checked.
I certify that all of the above are true. Go back button. Continue
I'm
button.
gonna hit continue.
Enter. Continue button. Click this button to continue to the next page. To activate, press enter. Please fill in the fields below. First name. First name edit required. Demo.
So
Required is
this
pop-up.
is part of where you're going to see that it's different because I obviously am not putting my personal information in. We're going to use the demo account. So I'm gonna skip past this for you guys, but it's my first name, last name, date of birth.
Last name, medical, birthday group, month, day combo box, 1, year combo box, 1990, continue button. Click this button to enter. Voter lookup document.
Okay, so here's where I'm going to select my ballot.
QA mode is enabled. Click here to exit QA link, skip to content. Enter, main region, select an election heading level 1. Please select an election from the list below. Select button. Demo election.
So here it says demo election. I'm gonna go back up to where it says select
Select button.
and hit that.
Enter. Select button. To activate, press enter. Voter lookup document. Main region. Ballot marking heading level 1. Your ballot is presented below. To mark your selection, click on the check box. To remove a selection, click on the checked box again.
So as you see, it's giving us directions, so we know exactly what we're supposed to do.
To vote for a candidate whose name is not listed on the ballot, click the checkbox beside the right dashed space at the end of the candidate list, then type the candidate's name in the space. If you have any questions, approved.
Okay,
Heading level 2 official ballot.
alright.
Heading level 2 election : demo election. Heading level 2 election district : 999.
It's giving me all the information about,
Heading
where
level 2
I'm
assembly
voting for.
district : 99. 1 of 5. Heading level 3 favorite ice cream.
So here, I'm now voting on my favorite ice cream.
Vote for not.
So I'm only allowed to vote for one, because it said, vote for not more than one. So I get one choice.
Favorite ice cream list of 3 items.
And I have 3 items here I can choose between.
Vanilla checkbox not checked.
Vanilla,
Chocolate checkbox not checked. Strawberry checkbox not checked.
strawberry. Alright, so we'll go with strawberry. We'll say.
Space. Favorite ice cream list with 3 items. Strawberry checkbox checked. To
Alright,
clear
so
check
I'm
mark,
now
press space bar.
Selected it, I'm
List
moving on.
end. Link skip to bottom. 2 of 5. Heading level 3 favorite summer activity. Vote for not more than 1.
Okay, so I get to pick my favorite summer activity.
Favorite summer activity list of 3 items.
So I have 3 choices.
Hiking checkbox not checked. Fishing checkbox not checked. Sport checkbox not checked.
So,
Who wants to vote for what? So what's the first option?
Fishing hiking checkbox not checked.
Raise your hand if, you vote for fishing. Okay, we have none.
okay, what about
Raise your hand if you vote for hiking.
No.
Okay, we have one.
Funny, dear.
Okay,
That's
and then
great.
we have-
Fishing sport checkbox not checked.
Sports. Raise your hand for sports. Okay, sports have it.
Favorite summer activity list with 3 items. Sport checkbox checked. Group start right in. Right in checkbox not checked.
So had I wanted to, I could have made up my own, and I could have said something like, I don't know, beach, or pool, and said that there instead.
Group end right in. List end. Link skip to bottom. 3 of 5. Heading level 3 favorite winter activity.
Winter activity.
Vote for not more than 2.
Now I get to pick 2 options.
Favorite winter activity list of 3
I
items.
still have 3 choices.
Skiing checkbox not checked.
So,
First option, skiing. Well, why don't we listen to them all and then select.
Snowboarding checkbox not checked. Sledding checkbox not checked. Group start right sledding checkbox. Snowboarding checkbox not. Skiing
so
checkbox
we have
not checked.
skiing, sledding, and snowboarding.
How many vote for skiing as a favorite winter activity? Okay, we have 2 for skiing. How many for snowboarding? We have 2 snowboarders. And how many for sledding? 2, 3. I think sledding has it.
Sledding, okay.
Snowboarding checkbox and sledding checkbox not checked. Space. Favorite winter activity list with 3 items. Sledding checkbox checked. Group start right in checkbox not checked. Group end right in. Group start right in.
So you'll see that there's 2 options for write-ins because you have the option to vote for 2. You'll see this on your ballot under judges. You only get 1 vote for president, but for some of the judges, it might be vote for 3, vote for 5, and there's a list. If it's okay, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think it's really important to note that both the accessible ballot and the ballot marking device prevent you from invalidating your ballot by marking it wrong. So it will not permit you to vote for both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. You
No.
have to vote for only one.
Definitely not.
So if you try to vote for one, you have
Not
one
me.
selected
No, thank you.
and then vote for the other one.
I'm
That's
getting
the same with this.
No, Donald.
List N, link skip to bottom, 5 of 5, heading level 3, article 1. Vote yes or no.
Okay, so now here's where we've now moved into our articles that we get to vote for.
Shall the Queens School District require all schools to only assign homework on weeknights and prohibit the assignment of work on Friday that must be completed and turned in on the following Monday?
So do we wanna have Queens, get rid of weekend homework?
So only homework on Monday through Thursday, raise your hand if you vote yes.
Oh.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Okay, and how many vote no? Okay, we have yes to have it, but that was closer than I've ever seen. Normally they're like, no, kids,
Comments like, don't forget it.
So, as you guys just heard, it, once again, I hit the check mark box,
He's
whatever
stupid,
reason,
yeah.
John did not acknowledge it until I started, like, out of
Cut
it
that out.
and went back and reread it, and it was already
Yeah, I
fine.
know, it's
So,
funny.
just be aware that's a John issue.
List N,
I
link
mean,
skip
still
to bottom.
something.
Go back button, continue
John.
button.
So now I've reached the bottom of the ballot, and I'm gonna hit continue.
Enter, selection of your document, main region, selection of your ballot choices are shown below. To change any selection, click the change button next to your selection.
So now we're in our preview mode of being able to see what selections we've made.
Heading level 2 official ballot. Heading level 2 election : demo election. Heading level 2 election district : 9. Heading level 2 assembly district : heading level 3 favorite ice cream.
Okay?
Strawberry.
So we selected strawberry.
Change favorite ice cream button.
Now, if I wanted to change this, maybe I hit it by accident, that's not what I thought I marked. I can hit this button and it would take me back and allow me, yeah, it would allow me to, edit my choices.
Heading level 3 favorite summer activity. Sports.
Okay?
Change favorite summer activity. Heading level 3 favorite winter activity.
Can you use the read all command?
I have never tried that.
Let's try it.
Okay, I'll be honest, I don't actually know that command, so that's part of why I haven't tried it.
It's insert key and press it down now.
Insert down here,
Yeah,
alright.
from the merge button.
Going off script.
What?
Heading level 3 favorite winter activities. Letting warning missing 1 of 2 selections. Change favorite winter activity button. Heading level 3 favorite Nick attraction
So
Central
yes,
Park.
the answer to
Change
that would be
favorite
yes.
Nick attraction button. Heading level 3 article.
Okay. But what we did notice is that when it got to the winter activity, it gave me an alert that said that I only selected one and there was an option for one more choice that I could have made. So if I somehow just didn't realize that when I was marking my ballot, or I misclicked something and somehow didn't select something I thought I did, I can use that change, button to go in and correct that.
Yes. Heading level 3 article 1. Yes. Change article 1 button. Go back button. Continue
Okay,
button.
so I've decided everything is correct, I'm good.
Enter.
Continue.
Print your selections document. Main
And
region.
now,
Print your
here-
select.
It's gonna start giving me all the instructions on how to print my ballots and turn it in. I'm not gonna sit here and make you listen to all of that because, Ariel has already gone over it.
So that is the accessible ballot. I know that we've had a couple questions percolating in the crowd before we open up to the ballot marking device. Let's address some of your questions. Without having an excuse. If you just don't want to go to your poll site, you can request an early mail. An absentee ballot is similar, but there's more restrictions on it on why you're requesting it. Is it because you're out of town? Is it because you have a permanent disability? There's a list of reasons that you have to select, and early mail is it's a no excuse version of that.